Hey, Shalom, Barakatah Yahweh Shemi Al Shai, double honors the apostles of Great Millstone, and honest true brothers will be pushing this truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, we're back out here again through the spirit Yahweh Shemi Al Shai. Okay, Lord's will, we're going to get into the word, we're going to get into the scriptures. Okay, we're going to get into the prophecies. All right, what's going to happen in the upcoming days. All right, time of Jacob's trouble. Okay, times of financial upheaval, times of nations coming up against other nations, okay? But ultimately the time where the Most High is going to set his people up on high, okay? Because right now we're at the bottom, okay, pursuant to the curses, all right? We are living in the slums, in the favelas, okay, all across the world. And pretty much what you find out is the Most High is going to raise up those people that are in the favelas, the people that are known as the offscouring of the world, okay, especially that of the prophets. And that's why you have a lot of people out here, okay, guys like Baloo, guys like Nate, okay, that have a problem with that, because pretty much when you have it to where the word is risen out there by people who are basically the offscouring, all right, for all intents and purposes, then you was gonna have it to where only the truth is gonna be magnified, okay, not a person's position. Okay, not a person's stature or his agenda, himself. Okay, the Most High was gonna raise up, magnify his name, man. And a lot of people have a problem with that because a hell of a lot of people are not really that spiritual. Okay, so let's look up this scripture offscouring, because I think that's a good place to start. Okay. All right, let me search it out. So offscouring. Right, and then I'll pull that scripture out. Maybe I don't know how to spell offscouring. All right, and even the scripture goes into saying how pretty much the Lord, right, was gonna bring mercy to our people, right, through the foolishness of preaching. Okay, so to a hell of a lot of people, this seems like a foolish thing. Okay, but see, when you go into the history of the prophets, these are the things, okay, that was gonna happen. The prophesying was gonna happen before the Lord was gonna return. That's spoken about within the book of bear with me. So let's see where it is. 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, on the 13th verse. So pretty much through the foolishness of preaching, that's when really the Most High was going to have it to where the word was going to be magnified. Okay, the Lord speaks about how in the last days He was going to have it to where the prophets was going to go out there. It was going to teach the words, and in the word being taught, okay, not through some group being set up, some militant group being set up and take arms against Esau, when his blessing is the sword, and he was going to go out there with the sword and come up against Esau, which makes no sense. But pretty much how that the Lord through the word was going to be okay, for the teachings of the word, that the Lord was going to have it to where the people was going to be raised up, going to turn back onto Yahweh Shemi Al Shai, turn back onto our heritage, okay, and thereby we was going to get back into the we're going to practice, we're going to rehearse the things of the scriptures, and ultimately we was going to turn back onto Yahweh Shemi Al Shai, and Yahweh Shemi Al Shai was going to have mercy upon us. Okay, so this is 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, on the 13th verse. It says, being defamed, we entreat, were made the filth of the world, and the offscouring of all things unto this day. Okay, let's see how much more is going to be said within that. So the 13th chapter. You know what? I'm going to start up a little bit higher than that. Okay, I'm going to start up a little bit. Okay, so 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, we're going to begin at today then, it seems, okay? So 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter. When we go in the spirit, you know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen because the spirit's ordained. So, the book of 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, starting at the top. It says, let a man so account of us as of the ministry as of ministers unto Christ and stewards of the mysteries, right, of the Most High. Okay, so when you think about a steward, when you're on an aeroplane or something like that, okay, those are the people that offer the service. Okay, we're the people that are offering out that service. Okay, right, revealing unto you the deep mysteries of these scriptures. And the scriptures talk about how in the last days you was going to see your teachers. Why was you going to see your teachers during the last days? Because pretty much the mysteries of those scriptures is going to be revealed unto you. Okay, so let's go on to the book of Amos, Amos the 3rd chapter, around about the 13th verse. So Amos, okay, Amos the 3rd chapter, I believe I want to be in. And this is in the, right, Amos 3 and 7. So it says, surely the Lord will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto the prophets. Okay? Right, so the Most High was going to reveal the mysteries of the scriptures unto his men, the prophets. Now, you might be wondering, why is that an important thing? Well, when you're living in the world right now where the deception is at an all-time high, okay, you got it to where you got the people out there within the land of Israel, the so-called Jews, right, the Edomites, they're saying they're the people of the Most High. Okay, you got it to where the heritage of the 12 tribes of Israel has been taken away. Okay, we have discontinued from our heritage. So these things that are spoken about within the scriptures and who it pertains to becomes a mystery. Okay, now here's where it gets interesting. Now you got it to where people are talking about salvation is going to come back by way of the Lord. Okay, the Lord is going to bring about destruction. Okay, well, those things are a mystery because why? Because you have to identify who is the wicked. Once you have identified who is the wicked, then you can identify who the righteous is. And in identifying who the righteous is, and more to the point, who the elect are, then you was going to see who's going to receive mercies in the times of the Lord's judgments. But those are all things of the mysteries of those are all things that are mysterious within these scriptures, and there's only been given to whom the Most High deems worthy of receiving those things. That's why the scripture goes into the word and the thing of sanctification. Okay, when you have it to where someone is sanctified to receive this word, they are separate from this world. Okay, that's why you go to the book of 1 John, what is it, the 2nd chapter? All right, and I believe maybe even in the book of James, the 5th chapter, it talks about how the characteristics of the man of the Lord was to be separate from the rest of the world. Because all that is in the world, idolatry, adultery, right, covetousness, that's not of the Most High, but of the world. And who's in rulership right now? You got it to where Esau, which is another mystery which is contained within these scriptures. Right, what's up? He's the one that's wicked. Okay, he's the one that's ruling right now. And the scripture talks about how that when the wicked rulers are in power, well, the people is going to do likewise as the rulers, man. It makes sense. You got it to where the elite banking families out there, they're moving the money in and out of their own pockets, okay, and keeping the wealth within their own pockets, and the people are going to see that as a thing to attain. Because everybody want to see their kids doing all right. Everybody want to see their grandma not having to retire in a retirement home, and have it to where she's taking care of her home. So what? You're gonna chase that paper, man. And in chasing that paper, well, if the wicked is the one that's got the money, well, guess what? You're going to be just like the wicked, man. That's why you got to where the vast majority of the people on this side, the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, right, whether they may be scattered, when they're trying to climb, when they're trying to be like, when they're trying to be rich within this society, what do they go out there and do, man? They do all types of wickedness, man. Okay, because when you understand how the agenda of the elite banking families work, and how that they're warlocks and witches, okay, and how that they basically sacrifice all different types of people to try to fulfill their so-called New World Order agenda, then you understand that when you have it to where the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, the Israelites, okay, whether they may be scattered, which that's another mystery. A lot of people can't grasp the fact that the Gentiles that are spoken about within the scriptures is talking about the Israelites that was scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And that goes back onto one of the first fundamental books you're supposed to understand for you to understand the entirety of the whole scriptures, which is the book of Deuteronomy. You go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, on the 64th verse. It clearly tells you that the Negroes, the Israelites, was going to be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Why? Because it was going to completely destabilize any geopolitical power that they may or not have had when that prophecy came to pass. Okay, you're going through all of our history. Okay, and you won't find out how we had skirmishes against the empire of the Edomites. Okay, how we came up and we had Moab in servitude. How did we have Moab in servitude when we was as a union? Okay, under King David's hegemony, if you will. Okay, underneath his rulership, when you had a union between the 12 tribes of Israel, then you had it to where the whole entirety of the whole world, okay, was subjugated underneath the Israelites. Now you got it to where we all split up. You got it to where you got Israelites out there amidst the Indians, Israelites out there amidst the Chinese. Okay, you got the vast majority of the Israelites out there amidst the Negroes, under the name of the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans out there within America. Okay. But where are you going to have some kind of geopolitical advantage when you got it to where all of your people are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth? That's why the Most High had it to where we got scattered throughout there. Okay, so when the Most High, when you go into the scriptures and you got it to where it's prophesied those Gentiles are going to come back in, well, basically the whole 12 tribes became like Gentiles, man. Okay, being alien from the covenant of the Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and those are the things that's another mystery that the Most High has revealed unto his prophets, man. And that's why you was going to have it to where you was going to have teachers out there, and they was going to bring out this word and get you to understand. Right now, but when you go into the book of Proverbs, what does it tell you? How that this word was going to be pushed out there, but there was going to be certain individuals that was going to reject the word of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay, let's get that right quick. So this is the book of Proverbs, the first chapter. Okay, and since it's within the topic, I'll read from the 7th verse and down to the 28th verse. So it says this. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Okay, so there's a lot of fools out here, and that goes hand in hand with what the book of Ecclesiastes says within the I think it's in the 7th chapter, where the scripture says that foolishness is set in great dignity. Okay, right? So you got to where people, a hell of a lot of people out there, they're watching Love Island. Okay, but that's foolishness. Okay, what's more foolish than breaking the commandments of the Most High? They're having orgies out there on the TV, man. Okay, so that's foolishness, but that's seen as something that's of a high esteem. Okay, that's something that's gonna be watched. Okay, that's something that has to be emulated, and that's what you have within this society. Okay, when you have it to where an individual comes and actually brings something beneficial to the world, that's shunned. Okay, that's ridiculous. You can't be bringing something forth to the world that's going to be beneficial to them. Okay, you got to bring forth something that's going to be destruction. So when you start fearing the Lord, okay, the scripture says that what he's going to have it to where he's going to understand the scriptures of the Most High. Now fear goes back onto the Lord's statutes, commandments of the Most High, which I spoke about in the premise of this. Okay, because in the fear of the Lord and in the understanding of the curses, then you was going to understand how this whole scheme of things is working, man. Right, going back onto the curses that was put on the 12 tribes of Israel, how they were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, how they was going to look like the other nations. That's all within the prophetic curses, man. Okay, that's all within the prophetic curses. But see, if you don't have the fear of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, how are you going to go into those laws, statutes, commandments, and understand those mysteries, man? Okay, so it says here, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And Esau is going to be the biggest fool. Okay, because the scripture says that that there was no fornicator, okay, likened unto Esau. All right, for one morsel of meat that he gave off his birthright. But see, that was all set up within the spirit, because Jacob, the younger, the younger, he was going to have it to where Esau, which was older than him, he was going to serve it. And that was all prophesied within the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, which I can get right quick too. Okay, so Genesis, the 25th chapter, 21st verse, it says, Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife Rebekah, because she was barren, and the Lord entreated him, right? And Rebekah conceived, and the children struggled together within her womb, all right? And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And the Lord said, 2 nations are in thy womb, 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, okay? And the one shall be stronger than the other. The Israelites are stronger than Esau. Okay, here it is, we've been in 300-400 years of hardcore captivity, and you're still seeing it to where Jake is prevailing. Okay, you're still seeing it to where the word is being magnified. Here it is, we're in the most hardcore servitude that's ever existed upon the entirety of the planet, the history of the planet. The most hardcore slavery, the most technologically advanced form of enslavement that's ever existed in the history of the planet. And you're still seeing it to where the men of the Lord, they're rising throughout the four corners of the earth and cursing this man to his face and telling him he's the one that's going to go into slavery. Okay? So it says there, back within the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter, Okay, and I'll jump to the point now. And this is the 28th verse. It says, Isaac loved Esau, okay, because he did eat venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob, and Jacob sowed pottage, all right, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint, and Esau said, feed me, I pray thee, right, with that same red pottage, for I am faint, okay, and said Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright, okay, so going back onto the scripture here within the book of Proverbs, the 1st chapter, okay, right where it says fools despise wisdom and instruction, okay, well that would have been a wise thing to do, right? When you had it to where Jacob said, look, give me your birthright and I'll give you in return this meat, okay, you was like, you supposed to be saying, nah man, that's my birthright. But see, the Most High set it all up in the spirit to where what? The younger was going to have it to where he's going to be in rulership. He was going to be in a higher position than the older, which is Esau. But now you got it to where you got role reversal. You got it to where Esau, the Edomites, they're in power right now. They're the ones that are calling the shots right now. Okay? And we know that they're wicked because the result of them calling all of those actions is a gross wickedness expounding upon the whole planet Earth. Okay? The people are in a completely foolish state. Okay, the whole earth is completely destroyed, the water is destroyed, the ocean is destroyed. Okay, fish prices is going through the roof because there's no more ocean. Okay, right, a complete deforestation because why? Because Esau's got to have that red meat, man, because he's a foolish individual. Okay, let's go back onto the book of Proverbs now. This is the 20th verse. It says, wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. And that goes back to what we're reading here within the book of 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter. Okay, how that we was going to be the stewards of the mysteries of the Most High. And where were we going to fulfill that stewardship? That stewardship was going to be fulfilled throughout the four corners of the earth, right, in the chief places of concourse, where you was going to see a whole bunch of people. Okay, some people was going to come for their own edification. That was going to be in the minority. The vast majority of the people was going to come for them to get cursed out, man. Okay. That's why you got into where people are talking about, oh, we need to put a birth control out there, all right, because the population of the earth has reached a too high a level. Well, the Most High set it up to where all of these people that have increased upon the face of the planet, they're here for their judgment. Okay, just like how you had it to where the Most High destroyed the planet Earth, okay, during the times of Noah, and I'll bet you anything that the Most High would have increased the population of the world at that time. You're seeing the same thing happen right now. Okay, a hell of a lot of people out here are living, they're in existence to receive their judgment. Okay, they're out here to receive their judgment. But going back onto what the scripture was saying here, how the wisdom was going to be out there, right? It was going to be being spread forth out there within the chief places of concourse. That lets you know everything that you're getting from these churches is nothing but utter garbage, man. Okay, what are they going to tell you about the book of Obadiah out there within these churches? How are they going to break that down? Okay, when you go to Pastor Porkchop and Bishop Bacon out there, when you ask them about the scriptures and who is Esau, what answer do you think they're going to give you, man? They ain't going to give you the biblical answers. They're going to wishy-washy or give you some type of answer to keep you quiet. Because that's what they do, these churches. They keep you quiet so you don't ask the questions that are important. Who are these people that are spoken about within the scriptures? Why is there such a great judgment that's going to come about on Esau? Because in understanding these questions, these mysteries, then you was going to understand the entirety of those of the scriptures, and you was going to push that understanding. Just like how the men of Great Millstone do. Okay? And you got it to where you got another individual underneath the name of Nathaniel Saban, and the guys like Johanna. Okay? They push the same vibration. Okay, they push the vibration of keeping quiet. They push the vibration of not getting into the scriptures, not getting into the mysteries. Okay, so the whole congregation is completely dehydrated, man. They have no understanding, and in not having no understanding, they don't have a problem with having it to where Esau is in rulership over them. But see, the men of the Lord, we have a problem with Esau being in power, man. Because Esau, going back onto the scriptures, within the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter that we just read, we read that Jacob was going to rule over his older brother, which was Esau, and we know that Esau is the one that's in power right now. Okay, let's prove that. Going into the book of Maccabees, and we're going to go into the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter 2, and you're going to see that Esau is the one that's he's that wicked one that's in rulership right now. So we start off in the book of Maccabees, the 1st chapter, and I'll start from the 7th verse. So it says, Alexander, the so-called great, reigned 12 years. Okay, going to the history, the Babylonian Empire. The Babylonians were taken down by the Medo-Persian Empire. the Medo-Persians set up a dynasty that ended with Darius III. Darius III fights Alexander, all right, a couple of battles, Battle of Granicus, Battle of Isis, okay? Once Alexander takes down Darius, he's got the whole rulership of the entire earth. But see what the scripture says here. Okay, so now you got into where Esau's in power, the so-called Alexandrian Empire, if you will, okay? The Greeks, okay? The so-called quote-unquote beginning of civilization. Let's see what the scripture says. When civilization so-called began, what does the scripture say as pertaining to their so-called civilization? Okay, so the book of Maccabees, the 1st chapter, and this is the 8th verse. It says, and his servants bear rule everyone in his place. So when Alexander died at about 33 years old, okay, he's so-called understudies, his 4 generals, okay, his 4 principal generals that grew up with him from his youth, okay, they bear rule of everything that he had acquired. Okay, so you had it to where the Medo-Persian Empire expounded their empire, right? And they had a rule over the whole entirety of the earth. You go into the scripture says that what? That everything that the Most High had made, okay, and he gave it unto the king of Babylon, which was Nebuchadnezzar, to rule over, all right, including Jerusalem. I believe it was being said by the prophet Jeremiah. Okay, so when the Medo-Persians took over the Babylonian Empire, well, guess what? They took control of all of those resources. And the same thing with Alexander, the so-called Great. When he took down the so-called Medo-Persians, okay, well, guess what? He took rule over the whole entirety of the world. And when you had it to where all of those generals that followed up after him, and they inherited his kingdom, after him, well, they took over the rest of the world. Okay, you can take pictures of the signs, but you can't take pictures of me, mate. Is that all? You can take pictures of the signs, don't take pictures of me.
Oh, I think you are very
What?
handsome, and I want after I want to